All right, welcome everybody to today's session. We're going to be talking all about the Google Maps playbook and how to get ranked on the Google Map in your service area for the most important keywords. And as we know, the Google algorithm is constantly changing. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the changes in the algorithm. I'll be sharing what we're finding works best to rank for your services. And let's face it, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, these are some of the most competitive categories because there's so many contractors and there's so much revenue opportunity on the table. And so we'll kind of be unpacking what we're finding works best with the 200 or so clients that we work with across the country. This session around Google Maps really fits nicely into this accelerated growth model, which is kind of what we coined as the model to keep your plumbing, HVAC, electrical home service business in a constant state of growth. And it really boils down to we got to drive traffic, we've got to maximize conversion, and then we have to optimize our results, right? And we drive traffic through organic paid search and database. We maximize conversion by having a great website that's built to convert, managing our reputation and getting more reviews than the competition, and leveraging automation to follow up with our leads as quickly as possible to convert more of those leads into sales, those one-time customers into repeat customers. And then we optimize results by figuring out how much we would need to spend in order to hit the growth targets that we have, dialing in tracking on our exact average cost per lead, and most importantly, syncing that with our dispatch management platform so we can optimize the return on investment, right? None of us want to spend money on marketing, SEO, pay-per-click, social media, any of this stuff if we don't know that we're spending $1 and it's generating a lead that generates a sale and has a true return on investment associated with it. And so this is the accelerated growth model. Really where this sits today is over here in the organic side of the equation, right? We got driving leads, maximizing conversion, optimizing results. Organic, which is getting the website ranked, showing up in the maps, is our lowest cost, highest quality lead. And so today's section is going to be all about that and how to get ranked better on the map in your service area. Got a bunch of pop-ups coming up. So if you could, like you're on today's session, keep your webcams on, have your other tabs closed. Let's give this our undivided attention. I promise I'm going to give you some of the best insights you've got available on how to get ranked on the map. Not only do we work with 200 plus contractors, I just came back from SEO spring training, which is where some of the best SEO contractors, SEO experts in the industry come together. And we spent an entire 3 days just looking at the latest changes, the updates to the algorithm, what people are testing and what's working best. And so I'm excited to kind of share some of those insights with you as well. So what we're going to talk, we'll talk a little bit about the updates to the Google Map listing because it does seem like the search result is changing constantly. The 5 biggest issues that are preventing you from ranking. Again, this is some of the latest information we got from the SEO spring training. Our proven model for getting ranked in the 3-pack in your service area. And some of the best tools. Like there's always new tools and innovations coming down. And so we'll talk about some of the tools you can use to automate this. Like AI is a big thing right now, and we want to be careful with that, but there's also ways where we can be more efficient with our strategies by leveraging AI and kind of using that to compound our results. So real quick, who am I and why should you listen? My name is Josh Nelson. I'm the founder of Plumbing and HVAC SEO. I'm the author of How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right. Very active in this industry. I love working with plumbing, HVAC, home service companies, active in Nexstar, QSC, Service Roundtable, CEO Warrior. I've had the opportunity to participate in those events, speak at those events, and I believe I'm looked at as one of the foremost experts in digital marketing for plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. But I'd say more important than any of that stuff, really, is that at this point, I've had the opportunity to work with over 250 of the top plumbing, HVAC, and electrical contractors in some of the most competitive markets across the country, and have been able to see a lot of them go from not ranking to being the dominant player in their market to seeing literally millions of dollars in revenue growth during our time working together. So what I'm going to be sharing isn't based on theory. It's not based on a blog I read on Search Engine Land. It's based on actual working with Google Map listings of companies just like yours in very competitive markets. So we've figured a lot of this stuff out. And this is what we do. We're on a mission to help 1,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical contractors triple their sales by getting their internet marketing right. And we're a full service digital marketing agency for this industry. We got a team of 35 plus full-time employees, and this is what we do day in and day out. Create the websites, create the content, update the Google listings, manage the paid search strategies, dial in the tracking so that we can help you guys grow and really dominate in your respective markets. So with that said, and the fact that we know today's session is all about the Google Map, really the first thing we have to ask is, do the Google Maps even matter, right? If the algorithms changed and we've got local services at the top and we've got more paid ads than ever, and the map listings are moving down and the organic listings are moving down, does it even matter if I rank on the map or not? Is it even worth trying to optimize for these strategies? And I want to kind of share some data to show you why I think that it really does. And so there was a study done by Moz, and this is recent in the last 12 to 24 months, called the feature graph. They looked at all of the organic results for local service type companies. And what they found was 71% of the clicks go to the first page, right? That's happening on the first page in the organic listings, not the paid. They also found that 67% go to the first 5 listings. So if we kind of extrapolate that a little bit further, at least 44% of the clicks go directly to the map listings. And so, yes, it has moved down. Yes, the results have shifted, but your customer still prefers to click on the map and to call and to follow up from opportunities listed in the non-paid listings. And so, yes, Google Maps still matter. I'm going to kind of back that up with a little bit more research and a little bit more of our own findings on this front. So one of the companies we work with is Shamrock Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, the full service plumbing and drain cleaning company based in Orlando, Florida. If you run a bunch of searches in and around Orlando for plumber, plumbing, drain cleaning, emergency plumber, water heater repair, they come up very nicely on the 3-pack in the Google Map. As a matter of fact, we run these geo grids where we can see where you might be searching in or around your service area. And, they've got predominantly 1, 2, or 3 spots in that greater Orlando market. And so what I want you to see is being ranked in these positions. What does that mean? Like, is it a vanity thing? Like, hey, I want to make sure I'm coming up, or does it actually generate revenue? And what I want you to see is Mark spends about $3,000 a month with us to handle his SEO services. He generates about 819 leads per month, and that's some of that from paid ads, some of it from Google Maps. But since today's all about Google Maps, and we see that he ranks extremely well in the map in Orlando, very competitive market, I want you to see he generates over 400 inbound lead calls every single month directly from being ranked in that position on the Google Map. And so I say that to kind of really emphasize the point to you that, yes, when you rank on the map and you've got this strategy dialed in, it will generate leads, it will generate sales, it will keep the trucks running on your behalf. So another example of a company we work with is Hancock & Sons Plumbing. They're based in Salisbury, Maryland. Similar story, right? You search those terms in and around Salisbury, you can see they come up number 1. And, for $2,500 a month, they can generate 168 or so leads. 145 of those come directly from the Google Map. And so if they weren't ranking, they'd be missing a lot of the opportunity. So yes, one last example. We work with a company called Laney's based in Fargo, North Dakota. They do plumbing, drain cleaning, electrical, HVAC. And I've talked to the beginning of the fact that it's challenging when you're trying to rank on the map for a variety of those services. It's easy to just say, I'm going to do plumbing or I'm just going to do HVAC. But to optimize your listing, your on-page, and all the things we're going to be showing you on today's session for multiple categories becomes a challenge. But if we look up Lanes, you can see they come up really well on the Google Map for a lot of different terms. And what I wanted to do is rewind the last couple of years with Lanes and kind of show you back in 2019, while they ranked on the map, how many leads were generated versus how many are coming from the map today. Because the question is Google Maps something that has declined in popularity, declined in search volume, declined in lead flow, or has it actually increased? And so if we look at our reporting back in 2019, since we've had the opportunity to work with them for many years, you can see about $2,500 a month is just for their SEO management. 1,117 leads, but 835 directly from the map. Obviously doing really well in Fargo, North Dakota. Now, if we fast forward about 2 years after that, you can see about the similar spend dominating the marketing 1,408 leads per month directly from the map. And then if we look at today, over 1,640 leads per month directly from ranking on the Google Maps. So if you can dominate the search engine results page, especially the Google Maps in your market, the tracking tells us, yes, Google Maps matters. Yes, the volume is actually increasing and not decreasing, despite the fact that you've got the Google guaranteed at the top, and then you get more, paid search results. Give me a 1 in the comments if that makes sense, or if it's helpful to kind of validate that there's some thought process behind this, and there's some real tracking to say that, yes, this does have an impact. So another example, a company we work with, Cardinal HVAC, based in Sun Prairie. All of the key terms you can see here. A little more aggressive budget, about $12,000 a month, 1,000 leads per month tracked, about an average of $11.13. 420 of those leads come directly from the Google Map. And so at the beginning, I showed you guys the accelerated growth model. I'm not suggesting any of you just do SEO or just do Google Maps as your only play. Like, it should be a comprehensive strategy. But I think this makes the point that you shouldn't just do paid search either, because a lot of companies will come in and say, hey, just focus on Google ads and LSA and retargeting potentially. And if you're not showing up for those organic terms, you'd be missing out on a lot of the opportunity. And so that's Cardinal HVAC. So yes, we can't just rely on paid search. We've got to have a comprehensive strategy, and we should be focused on making sure we're coming up in the Google Map in our service area. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the biggest changes that are happening, and I'm going to go ahead and switch gears here to my screen, because I've got some bullets, and I want you guys to be able to see what I've got up. So you should be seeing my screen now. If you guys can confirm that for me, that would be awesome. Yes, says Theo. Okay, cool. All right, give me 1 sec. I'm just trying to change the screen behind me, and we'll. Oh gosh. Almost there. Okay. Yes, Google Maps matters. So the biggest challenges and the biggest changes we've seen in the search results on Maps specifically, there was a long time where there was actually 7 results that came up on the Maps. About 4 or 5 years ago, they switched that to just showing 3. So right now in the map, we've got a paid listing in some cases, and then 3 organic non-paid listings on the map. They do have the opportunity now, if you're running Google ads, where you can advertise specifically in the map results. It has to be connected to an actual Google Map listing. I highly recommend adding that as part of your paid search strategy. Local service ads is live across the entire United States and Canada, and I'm sure it's going international as well. But that's been a big shift in the search results page, where we've got these local service ads or Google guaranteed listings coming up. Highly recommend you participate in that as well. What we're finding is the cost per lead on local service ads is less than the cost per lead from Google ads specifically. So I truly believe a combined approach of Google Maps, like optimization, organic optimization, plus Google ads, plus local service ads, plus retargeting. You want to make sure we're following up with those opportunities that get to your site that don't convert. But local service ads is something you want to be aware of. You want to be paying attention to. You want to have your background checks done. You want to have that set up and running. And so the way it looked before was on the left there, right, where we got all of these map listings, the paid search up at the top, and versus the way it looks today. Right, today we've got very clean at the very top. We've got our local service ads, the Google guaranteed, and then we've got our paid search, and then we've got those organic map listings directly below that. And so that's the main shift. Type in the comments, LSA, if you're running local service ads in your market and you're heavily participating in this. That's the Google guaranteed along the top. Yes, lots of you are. Definitely recommend you do. Next month, I'll be doing a session specifically on Google local service ads, how to set them up, how to optimize them. But more importantly, because most of you guys have this, is how to win the game, right? Because it's not just about having $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 budget. There's very specific things you can do with your the way you close out the jobs, the way that you optimize the profile to remain more relevant in the 3 rotation on local service ads. And so if you aren't in and you saw everyone there that just said they are, you should be doing everything you can to rank on maps, but also to be participating in the opportunity that comes directly from local service ads. So in my mind, I think really what we want to accomplish, yes, the search results have changed, but really what we want to do is we want to dominate that search result when someone goes to Google and they type in your city for plumber, plumbing, drain cleaning, water heater repair, AC installation, indoor air quality. We don't want to just have a paid listing. We don't want to just have a local service ad listing. We want to show up 2, 3, 4 times on the page. And we do that by playing local service ads, optimizing our map listing, making sure we come up organically, making sure that we are running some Google ads for those terms, assuming the budget's available. And then we're also optimizing our third-party listings. So in a lot of markets, well, if I type your city plus plumber, the first organic result that's going to come up typically is a Yext listing or a Angie listing or one of those listings in that particular market. And so if you do this right, you can have your listing, you get it indexed, you build some authority behind it, your listing can come up and your website can come up and your map listing can come up. And what we find is if you get at least 2 listings on the first page, you more than double the probability of getting the click and the lead. And that's really the goal for the high volume terms and the high transaction value terms that are a little easier, like trenchless sewer replacement, repiping, those higher value jobs. If we get aggressive with that, there's less search volume, but we can rank really well with multiple listings, and we can get more of those high transaction value jobs. So one of the big changes that was talked a lot about at the SEO Spring Training Conference I was at is the fact that Google's getting rid of a lot of bogus listings. And so some of the people in this SEO industry, some of us are like what we do at Plumbing and HVAC SEO. We work with clients and we try and get their websites ranked. There's a whole crop of digital marketing companies that set up fake plumbing website, fake plumbing GMB listing just to get ranked, just so they can sell the leads out to home service companies. And so that's created this amalgamation of results where you've got what's the real business, what's the fake business, and then you've also got legit businesses like us, like those of you that are on today, that are trying to create multiple locations in the service area. And so Google has really cracked down on this, and we have to make sure that we're playing by the rules and we're being above board so that our business can be in the rotation, can actually win the day from a ranking perspective. And so I wanted to start off by talking about the things that can actually be hurting your ranking on maps, because most of you guys are students of the game. You come to webinars like this, you hire aggressive agencies, and sometimes the things that you had put in place in the past that got you ranked to #1 are actually what are filtering your listing or have made your listing disappear from the search results altogether. And so I want to talk about those things that could be hurting you and how to reverse some of that damage to make sure that you're back in the good listings. So the first thing is you need to have an actual office in the city you're looking to target. So if I've got a plumbing company based in Miami, Florida, and I want to have the possibility to rank for Miami plumber, Miami drain cleaning, Miami water heater repair, I need to have an actual office. And so there was a long time where I could use my house, or I could use like a fake listing. I could use my aunt's house. And I know all of us played these games over the years. What Google wants with their map listing is to serve the very best company that is actually going to show up, that's going to do a good job, so that they can create a great search experience and solve the problem of their end searcher, their customers, the person searching. And so they're really putting a heavy emphasis to make sure, are the companies that are listed backed by a real location with signage, with a place somebody can come in. And if you played a lot of games with this in the past, that could actually be hurting you. So my thought is, ideally you've got a warehouse or a location, right? And that's the best play. The second best play would be you really want to rank in Miami, but your office is in Doral, let's just say like one of the outskirt towns. You may be better served to go and rent a physical office. And I know this costs a little bit of money, but rent a physical office that you can actually show Google that that's a physical place. That's the best way to do this. There are ways to play games with virtual offices like Regis and things like that. to kind of have locations in surrounding cities and surrounding towns. But if you're going after one of the main markets like Miami, LA, Denver, you need to have a true location in that particular area. So don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's a critical factor. If you're still trying to use Aunt Sally's house or your personal residence, that's going to be a big challenge for you as Google gets more and more sophisticated and takes this more and more seriously. The second thing that could be potentially bringing your rankings down is if at some point in the past, in the last year, 2 years, 5 years, you created fake listings. So some SEO companies felt like, you know what, the best thing I can do for my client is create fake listings in all of the surrounding cities and towns, and we'll get it verified on Google. We'll get the PIN code. We'll create some reviews for it, and they'll be able to rank in all these towns. And there was a magical moment in time a couple years back where that worked really, really well. And it was like high fives all around. We're getting more leads. We're getting more sales. Look at all the stuff you rank for. Unfortunately, Google caught that, smacked it down. And so if you've got some of those rogue listings still active, even though, let's say you've got a real location in the real city that you want to rank in, those bogus listings could be harming you. And so one of the best things you could do is go into MapMaker and find any duplicate, false, fake listings and delete them, consolidate them, close them so that your main authentic real listing can be untarnished. And there's a process for this, and it actually works pretty well. So if that's something you're facing where you're not on the 3-pack and you're trying to figure out why, like you've got a great listing, you've got lots of reviews, this could be the thing that's actually drawing you back. The third problem that's potentially harming you is inconsistency of your name, address, phone number. This is less of an issue than it has been in the past, but if your company's listed differently on maps than it is on like Yelp and Angie and all of these different places, Google is looking for a consistent profile for your organization. And so it's not so much about the tracking numbers these days, but the name of the company and the address that you have referenced. You want that to be consistent across hundreds and hundreds of online directories and citations. That way Google finds an exact match for you. And that's a vote of confidence that you're a legitimate company in a legitimate place you claim to be. And then you back that up with reviews. And that's how you can really start to win the game there. So there may be an exercise, if you're not coming up, all other things being equal, to run an assessment of what your NAP looks like today on the internet and go in and clean that stuff up so that you have that consistency. We found in some cases, we get with a client, it seems like everything should be nice and tight. They should actually be winning, but they're not anywhere. They're filtered from the map results in their town. And it was a matter of finding those inconsistencies, getting them consistent across the web, boom, and they shoot right back up to the first or second spot on the Google map. So that's it's a relatively easy thing to do, right? If you've got the right tools and you've got the right manpower to get it done. Number 4, and this one is actually a pretty great area based on this SEO Spring Training conference I just got back from, is if you spammed your company name with keywords. So let's just say your company is Bob's Plumbing, and that's how you're legally named. bobsplumbing.com is your domain. But on Google Maps, you decided, hey, you know what? Let's get clever. Let's call ourselves Bob's Plumbing and Drains, Miami, Florida, right? And you kind of put the city in there. You put one of your extra keywords in there. It's like, hey, that should pass some signals to Google that I'm a legitimate company and I want to come up for all these different words. Google is very specific in their terms and conditions. They want you only to use your actual company name, the actual company in that either your DBA is or your legal incorporated name for your business. And if you've added a bunch of extra spam to it and visually that gets caught by Google, not necessarily by their algorithm, but by one of their manual reviewers, you could instantly get pulled out of the map listings until you go back and correct that. And really where I've seen this get hairy is somebody comes up with this idea and they change their name on the Google map, and then they change that name across all the citations across the web, and it works great for a period, but then eventually they drop off the map. And it's not at that point as easy as just changing the name on the map listings. Now you got to change it on all those other places as well to get back to a consistent name, address, phone number. So when I say this is one of those gray areas, there was a couple people at the SEO spring training. Again, most of them, or a lot of them, I should say, doing this for themselves, just so that they can get rankings and sell leads. So it's not as sensitive as a company like a lot of you guys. But what they found was putting their keywords, the city and a bunch of different keywords into the name on Google actually showed them a noticeable bump in the amount of keywords they could rank for and how they ranked in those specific instances. So it can be a temporary, very effective strategy. Long term, I think it is a risky thing to do. If you really wanted to play that game and you wanted to be above board, the way to do it would be to actually recreate a new DBA for yourself, or doing business as, with Bob's Plumbing and Drain's Miami's Best Plumber. You're like just getting crazy with it, right? You kind of put more keywords in there. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. I think you're better off to say, hey, let's go find where we did that. Let's get it nice, clean, and consistent, and do all of the other things I'm going to show you how to do on today's session. And then number 5, like the thing that usually, all other things being equal, that's preventing you from ranking, is you don't have enough reviews, right? If you've got a perfectly optimized listing with all of the right stuff, you've got lots of citations, but you've only got 5 reviews, and your top competitors got 5,500, obviously they're going to have the competitive advantage. And so I'll talk about some review generation strategies that you can use ongoing, and then also retroactively, where you can kind of re-engage those past customers you've been working with to get a nice bump in the review count, which will absolutely move the needle for your Google Map listings and rankings. So these are the 5 things that could be hurting you. I'd love to have you self-assess here for just a sec. Like, what's the 1 or 2 opportunities you might say, hey, that's what I need to focus on. I need to go back and clean up that map listing, or I need to go back and, get some more reviews so I can be more relevant in my service area. Go ahead and type those in the chat. Okay, so when I talk Google Maps, a lot of times we think like, all right, so like, are we just talking about plumbing company, or like what are the different keywords that can actually trigger a map listing? And what we found is it's not just plumber and plumbing, or AC repair and heating repair. There's a lot of different keywords Google has already recognized as a local plumbing centric term, and you want to make sure that you optimize your listing and your website to come up for all of these different terms as well as possible. And so I've got a great keyword list that you guys can reference at plumberseo.net/plumbing-keywords. It's things like drain cleaning and water heater repair, and repiping and torrential sewer replacement, gas line installation, sump pump repair. Lots of the different things that you do, you want to make sure that you're not just focused on the main term, plumber and plumbing. Well, that's going to generate 80% of the search. The other 80% of those terms that are what we call more long tail terms can be more specific. They can be a little bit less competitive. They can be more commercial and intense. With the types of plumber, they don't really know what they need yet. But if they type in sump pump repair, like, they recognize that sump pump in their basement isn't sucking the water out. They've got an immediate problem that needs to be solved. And so, making sure you've expanded that a little bit. And then on the HVAC side, right, we've got AC repair, heating repair, HVAC contractor, indoor air quality. You guys know all of the different keyword combinations. We've also found that whatever brands that are in the home, and ideally if you specialize in Train or Amana or Rheem, like, put those particular brands with repair, installation, maintenance. There's lots of low competitive terms you can come up for on the maps for those things. And so I've got a blended list here at plumberseo.net/keyword-list. And one of the most valuable things you can do would be to pull together a list of all of these keywords, right? Combined with the cities that you're in. So let's just say, again, I use the example of Miami because I'm in Miami, but in Miami, like, do I come up for Miami air conditioning, furnace repair, AC repair in Miami air conditioning contractor, right? There's lots of those keyword combinations. But one of the best things you could do is come together with that list and then get a report that shows you exactly where you rank on Google and Bing today for those keywords. Are you in the first spot? Are you in the 10th spot? Are you in the 50th spot? And what I found is, for most contractors, that's a complicated thing to do, right? You're going to search 100 times. You don't necessarily have some of the paid tools that agencies like ours have. And so what I'd like to do is offer you guys the opportunity where we will run that report for you. So we work with 200 plus of the top plumbing, HVAC, home service companies in the country. We've done this due diligence left, right, and sideways. So we know what the keywords are. And what we'll do is we'll combine those keywords with your service area, predominantly like the main city you're in and probably the 5 surrounding cities and towns. So we'll have several hundred keywords. And then we've got a tool that we can put that into, and it will tell us exactly where you're coming up on Google Maps, on Bing, and on Bing Local, so that you can see. Maybe like high fives all around, we're crushing it, or maybe, just maybe, there's some keywords that you're not coming up for. And awareness precedes change. And I think if we're thinking about ranking better in the Google Maps, we need to analyze, where do we come up today, right? And so if you'd like to take me up on that, you can go to plumberseo.net/schedule. Again, you put in your company website address, you put in your company details, you'll schedule a time. We will run that report for you. We'll give it to you so you can use it as you see fit. If it makes sense, we'll talk about how we can help. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. So just know that that's a resource. One of the most valuable things we do on these SEO webinars is to run that report for you. It takes us several hours to combine the data, run the report, export it out. But if you were to do it yourself, it would probably take weeks, and so it would never, ever get done. Okay. So if you haven't yet, that's plumberseo.net/schedule. Schedule your time. We'll run that assessment for you. That way you know, right? Either you're doing great or you're not. So I want to shift gears now to the actual formula that we're finding works best to get ranked on the map in your service area. Sounds fancy, but the reality is there's basically 3 key components. Number 1 is we want to claim and optimize your Google Map listing. And you do that at Google Business Profile Manager. There's a back-end dashboard, and it gives us all kinds of flexibility to set the address, to upload photos, to put a description, to see questions. I'll talk you exactly through what we found works best to truly optimize that business profile. Second to that, we've got to build your name, address, phone number consistency. And so that's having web references of your company's name, address, phone number across the internet on the online directories we all know of, like Networks and Nextdoor and Angie, and the list goes on and on and on. 2 things we want to do there. 1, we want to make sure we're listed in as many of those places as possible. 2, and probably more common for most of you, is to go in and clean up the inconsistency, right? To go in and see, like, where is there, this name versus that name? Where is this address being used versus that address? And there's a lot of effort that needs to go into combining the duplicate listings, cleaning up the inconsistency, deleting the ones that are completely irrelevant and no longer usable. But I can tell you, if we got a properly optimized Google Business Profile and we've got lots of consistent citations, that's a vote of confidence to the Google algorithm. And then number 3 is we have to build reviews, right? We have to have more reviews from our real customers in our true service area. And there's tools out there that will let you get fake reviews from people that have Google listings. I do not encourage that, right? And that's not something we do for our clients, because that is playing with fire. Google has detailed information on every Google account that's ever been set up, where it was created from, if it's actually being used to check email and other things. Much better. All of you guys are doing enough volume in your companies that if we could get your past customers, at least a percentage of them, to go in and post a review, and then we can put a process in place where 10 to 15% of our customers on a monthly basis take this service and then go in and post a review, there's no reason you can't be the dominant person with the most reviews and the best reputation online. So I really think it's more about system and process, and definitely not trying to game the system with how you get these reviews. And then the 4th really important component is your on-page SEO. What we found is it's not just the Google listing optimization and the description and the citations and reviews. Google's also spidering back from what's listed on Google Maps to your website. And your website and the authority of that website passes context. What's the service area? What are the services they provide? What's the general sentiment? Is the name, address, phone number matched? If we get all of these functions correct, the map listing, the citations, the review strategy, and the website itself, that's how we're able to dominate the map results and get the kinds of outcomes that I've been showing you that we get for our clients. And so it really boils down to trust, right? Google is about solving problems for their customers, right? The people that are searching. And right now, it's the dominant search engine by a landslide, but AI is coming to try and disrupt that. Bing is trying to disrupt that. All kinds of other search engines are cropping up trying to disrupt that. And so Google's #1 mission is to make sure that they have the best answer to the question that their customers are typing in. And so they want to look and see, what are the trusted Google Map listings? What are the trusted organizations that we're going to put in those prominent 1, 2, 3 listings? Because if they get that right, their customers are happy. If their customers are happy, they keep using Google. If they keep using Google, they can generate billions of dollars in advertising revenue, right? And so this is really where it all starts, is the trust of your profile. And so we're brand authority. Like if we look at Langs, one of the companies I referenced in Fargo, North Dakota, they've got a lot of brand authority. Like they run ads, they're recognized, they've been in double generation, company in that particular market. Laney's is a recognized brand, and they've built that up over time. Number 2 is the way that you've verified your listing. I know this seems like a basic concept. If you set up your Google listing 20 years ago, I'm sorry, 10 years ago, the way Google did it was they just added you to the search results, and you had the option to click verify my listing, and Google would then send you a postcard in the mail, and you'd get that postcard. That's how they knew that you were actually at that address, and you'd enter the PIN code, and that would unlock your listing, right? That was pretty much the start and end of how you verified your listing back in the day. Now today, they've recognized that people are gaming that process. They've gamed that process over the years. And so now they've got video verification. Like if you set up a listing right now, Google's going to ask you to record a video at the office with showing signage that you've actually got a place there, showing a meeting area where your customers can come in, and showing an area where the customers can't access, like a back room in the office space. And so video verification, and then there's also live recorded video, like where you just record it with or without a Google rep. One of the key things we're finding right now, if you're not ranking, is you either need to re-verify or go through video verification. And if you've got a real location and you've got a real office, which is exactly what I said is a prerequisite for success with Google Maps in today's market, no reason not to do this. And actually, being double verified is really good. So if you've already got a PIN code and you've been verified in that way, if you can prompt, and I can share some strategies on how to prompt a re-verification, and you do that on video with the rep, that's going to have more authority than just somebody that was verified 5, 6 years ago via the postcard mechanism. Okay. The other really big trust factor, and I'm going to talk about this again and again and again, is the number of reviews that you have, right? All other things being equal, if you got more reviews than your competition, you're looked at as more authoritative. But also important, and where most people don't realize, is the velocity of reviews. Did you get all those reviews last week and like a big jump? Or is there a consistent velocity of new reviews coming into your business? This is why I say, yes, we can go back to the previous customer base and get some reviews and kind of bump the listing a little bit, but we have to really bake into our business process, creating a world-class experience, automating the review request process, and having new reviews every single week, every single month. That velocity matters in your rankings. Recently unsuspended listing is actually a good thing. So there's little things you can do on your listing, or your agency might do on your listing. Change the address, change the phone number, upload a couple new photos, change the description. Sometimes when you make those changes, your listing gets suspended, which means you can't modify it anymore, or it's like filtered. It's not coming up in the results anymore. When you go back in and actually do a manual verification process, that tends to give you a recency advantage. And so don't panic, as long as you know how to do the verification, which is very easy, like I just explained. Being re-verified will give you a competitive advantage in terms of that trust factor. And then you've got the back-end engagement. Believe it or not, if you set up your profile once and you set it and forget it, that's a signal to Google that this is not a very active listing. But if you or somebody on your team or an agency like ours make it part of their process where at least once a month, we're going back in, we're uploading some images, we're adjusting the hours of operation, we're responding to our reviews, we're answering the questions that get answered. That's a massive trust factor. And so I don't care if you manage the Google listing yourself or if you've got a third-party provider like us, be sure that you know what your login is to your Google business profile listing. You should have that as the owner of your business, as one of your assets, like the key to your office. You need access to it. But I would really encourage you to install the app, the Google Business app on your phone, and actually log in. That way you can see how it looks, but you can also just show that activity in addition to what your agency is doing. And then having a completed profile, I'm going to show some examples of what you need to do on the profile itself. But these are the main trust factors that can really move the needle in terms of Google feeling confident that you are who you say you are, you're in the location that you say that you're in. Some other link strategies, because outside of just looking at the citations and outside of just looking at the on-page optimization of your site, there's some specific things you can do to build your authority for your website and through your map listing. And one of the great strategies we found works really well is local sponsorship. Again, coming back from this SEO spring training, there was a lot of conversation about, link networks. This may be completely foreign to you guys, but there's this thing called PBX. It's a public blog network where SEO companies and digital marketing companies set up hundreds of these little sites that have some content on them just for the sake of passing a link to these other different sites. And so they are able to almost fabricate authority through these PBNs. I bring this up because I want you to be aware you don't want your agency to be building your entire strategy on PBNs because that's a house of cards. But if you try to think what would an actual authority link be for your local plumbing, HVAC, or electrical business, one of the most authoritative links are local organizations in your local market. And there's sports teams, there's health, there's clubs, there's schools. If you sponsor those organizations and they have a website and they have a blog, and as part of that sponsorship, they're willing to link back to your homepage or link back to your drain cleaning page or your water heater or installation page, that is a legitimate signal to Google that you're active in your local market. And so these sponsorships are usually very cost effective, between 25 and a couple $100 one time. Highly recommend you and or your SEO team put your heads together, figure out how can we plug into these local sponsorship opportunities. You can host community events, meetups and stuff like that, and then post about it on the various meetup sites on social media. Create local resources page on your website. So this would be, yourcompany.com/providers or resources. And you could link out to the people you refer business today, right? Who do you refer business to? If you're a plumbing company, maybe you refer to the HVAC company. Maybe you refer to the local kitchen and bath installation company, because you don't do that, you do service and repair. Maybe you do business with a damage restoration company. So when you come into the house and you've noticed that the house is destroyed, there's one or two really good damage restoration companies you refer to. This would be completely above board that you put the links to their site on a resources section on your site, and then you ask them to do the same, right? And now you've got authority with local contractors similar but non-competing to you, and you're both going to get, or all going to get, a lift from that effort. So we talked about sponsorships, actual school sponsorships. I know a couple of you guys sponsor the local trade school, and you sponsor guys as they kind of come through trade school to come through apprenticeship. No reason you can't kind of play on that to build your authority and to build your links. Again, I don't want to get too technical, but these are some of the things you can do to really build your authority. And I'm trying to be a little bit more advanced because there's lots of information on the internet about, I got to claim my map listing, I got to build reviews, and I got to build citations. But everybody on today's call and everybody that's not on today's call has heard those things and has already done those things. And so these are the types of approaches and strategies that give you the delta to get the competitive advantage to win the day with your, with your Google Maps strategy. All right, so I'm gonna hit the key fundamentals here on what you want to do to claim the listing correctly. Number one, make sure you have that Google Business Profile login. Told you this before. Even if you're one of our clients, I want you to have access to your listing so that you have access. That's a key property that you want to have, just like the keys to your office. Now, that's not to say you don't have other people with access to it, but you want to make sure that you've got your key as well. Update the company, make sure it matches your actual company name or the DBA. Don't add a bunch of keywords in there. I talked about this before. If you want to add keywords to it, go change the name of the company or go create a DBA. That way you've got the background to validate why you did that and why that's okay. Obviously, add your website address. Don't use a 800 number in your Google local business listing. You might serve a 3-county area. You might have different area codes that are calling in, but Google wants to serve local businesses. And so having a localized number on your listing is super important. Use an actual local address. I talked about this as one of the main reasons you probably don't rank today is if you've got a fake address, if you've got your home address, we need to actually use the local address. And if you use the PO box, you're out of gas, right? If you use the UPS store, probably not going to work. Go rent a true location if you don't have an actual warehouse and put that in. Google then lets you load photos, and I really want to encourage you, max this out. Don't load one photo, right? All other things being equal, if you can download the photo from your phone, and Google prefers iPhone captured versus like high stock professional photos, and you can download the phone with the metadata showing the location where that photo was taken. You rename it so that it actually has your different keywords in the actual photo itself, and then you upload that. That passes some signals in your listing specifically. And just like on your website, I would encourage you, if you want to improve conversion, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so, yes, you want your logo there. Yes, you want maybe some pictures of your truck and your facility if you have one. But really, the thing people want to see is pictures of you, pictures of your team, pictures of you guys doing your work. And so be as authentic as possible with those photos that you populate into your Google profile. And then make sure that your hours of operation are listed correctly. One mistake I see contractors make here is their office hour to answer the phone, either live or through their call center, is between 8 o'clock and 5 p.m. And then it goes to like an overflow service call center or something like that. And so they want to set their hours between 9 and 5. The problem with that is if you show those hours and you rank on the map, it's going to show closed during those hours when somebody searches. And so I would encourage, if you have the ability to answer 24/7, I would set those hours 24/7. That way you're constantly in the rotation and you're constantly showing up as open. And so this is what the Google business profile looks like when you log in. There's a little area over on the side called info, and that's where you can populate your photos. Looks a little bit different on mobile, but I really encourage you to log in and kind of know your way around. You want to make sure that your listing has been properly verified, in which case we'll have that little verified seal on it. If your listing is active but not verified, you probably need to go through that video verification process I told you about. Don't sweat it. I think some people get scared. Oh, it's going to be this hard thing. No, they just want to see a video of you, of your office, of signage, and to see that you're legitimately where you say you are. Now you can add all of those pictures. Again, yes, the logo, but kind of mix it up with the other personality-based photos as well. Also interesting to note, there's an insights section that gives you reporting where you can see how many times your listing was viewed. You can see how many people did the mobile click to call directly from the app. And this gives you some interesting insights in addition to the data that you might have from Service Titan or from whatever call tracking system that you might be using. Some other best practices as it relates to your Google business profile. Don't just do a dump of photos and call it a day, right? Google's looking for consistent updates. They're looking at the activity on the back end of your profile. So I would say at least a couple times per month, you want to be uploading new photos. If you can get into a routine of taking pictures at the client site, getting pictures of your technician kind of doing the work that they're doing, those photos work really well. And they're also very good for social media. So don't just take a picture of the water heater. Don't just take a picture of the AC system that you installed. Either have a picture of your tech, like selfie style, or someone taking a picture of the tech doing the thing. If you can record a little video of the tech explaining, hey, this house is this problem, and this is what we found, and this is what we did, that plays really, really well. Also, If the customer feels up to it and the tech doesn't feel too weird, picture with the homeowner and the tech, with them super happy that the tech solved their problem. That works really well. You want to be leveraging Google Posts. So Google lets you post onto your Google profile. You want to be doing ideally a post a week, but at least once every 90 days, something new should be posted. Could be an offer, could be an announcement, could be some information that you want to post out there. Be sure you do that. Also, big time miss when it comes to Google map listings is responding to reviews, right? We know, all of us on this call know, reviews is one of the most important factors for our success in ranking, in conversion, and we put a great emphasis on how to get those reviews, how to create that experience. But where I see most contractors don't do anything is responding to the reviews. It only takes a little bit of time, and there's some great automation now that exists where you can log into the profile, see that happy customer, and say, hey, thanks so much, really appreciate your business. It was a pleasure to fix your air conditioning system. It was a pleasure to repair that broken water heater, right? Get your keywords in the response. It's a great thing. Does that actually pass signals to the rankings? I don't know. Couldn't hurt, right? So be sure that you're just out of courtesy responding to your reviews. It also tells your other customers that look you up, not only do they get reviews, they care enough to respond to the reviews, and be sure you address the negative reviews as well, right? Regardless of how good we are, we all get some negative feedback here and there. Try and deal with it offline, but always professionally, never bash the customer, respond to your reviews. The other cool opportunity that Google gives us is the ability to answer questions, right? And so there's a Q&A section, frequently asked questions, right in your Google profile. And what I find is a lot of companies like, I don't have any questions in there, so I don't know what to do. What I would suggest is seed some of your own questions. Like, think about the most common things that people ask. Are you available 24/7? Do you do trenchless water heater repair? Can you repipe my home? Whatever those questions are. Do you have a guarantee? Can you do same day service? Ask those questions and then answer the questions. Get your keywords, get your content out there on the listing. We know for sure people will scan that and like the fact that you've answered some of the frequently asked questions. We also believe that Google's looking at the context of those questions, the answers of those questions. Now, how you go about asking the questions, if you've got your personal profile or some of your team members have those profiles, that's one way. You could also just post the question directly as Bob's Plumbing. You could do it either way. I think it feels a little awkward that you're personally asking the question and then personally answering it. So if you've got some profiles, you can post those questions as at least the first handful. It makes it feel really, really natural and really, really organic. Again, guys, my goal is to give you like the actual things we do to get our clients ranked. How am I doing on a scale from 1 to 10? 1 being I'm boring you to death. 10, you're like, this is good stuff, I'm getting value. 5, somewhere in between. Okay, so we talked, I got a 10. I feel good. I'm not gonna look at any of the others. All right, get some 10s coming in. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Okay, next thing I said we need to do is we need to build the consistency of your name, address, phone number, right? So that's lots of citations with that consistency without creating duplication, right? And I think a lot of plumbing and HVAC companies, when I audit why they're not ranking on the map, is that they've done this themselves, and then they hired someone to do it, and then they hired someone else to do it, and the sloppy next provider just puts it into a new platform, spawns a bunch of new listings, and now you've got 7 variations of your company on all of the different websites across the internet. And so what we're after is making sure we're in all of those places, but we're also in all of those places with consistency and without duplication. And so I'm going to share some of the best tools that we actually use that I would recommend if you want to do this yourself, or you want to get with your providers and say, hey, here's what I think we should do, is to pay attention to the data aggregators. So when we think about citations, usually we think about Google and Yelp and Angie's List and Hot Frog and networks and all these different directory sites. But most of those directory sites, when they go to populate the data for their directory initially, they go to these data providers, these data aggregators. And there's 4 main data aggregators that basically fuel the entire internet. And that's Factual, Axiom, Infogroup, and Newstar. And if you're in those 4 places, you're going to be pushed out to all of the other big time directories and most of the new directories as they come out, because they're going to pull from one of those 4. And typically what I find is if you're winding up where you go into a listing and you update it, and then you check back 3 months later and it's either still got the wrong information again, or it didn't sync or it didn't stick, it's because you're updating the actual listing down here, but the aggregators are still pushing whatever data they have in their platform. And so one of the best things you can do, in addition to claiming your Google business profile, would be to go back and make sure that you've got proper information fed into those data aggregators, because that's what's going to push out to all of those other niche specific, local specific, industry specific directories. And so when it comes to citations, lots of tools for this. Bright Local is one of the popular ones, White Spark, Advice Local, Moz Local, and Yext. We've used all of these at different levels. We use them all in different ways. I'll kind of share what I would suggest. But before we do that, I would encourage you, since inconsistency of your name, address, phone number is such a big factor, I've got a free tool that's available at plumberseo.net/scan. And so if you pull up plumberseo.net/scan, it will ask you to type in your business name, your address, your city, your state, and your zip code, and your phone number. And it will go scan the internet across the most important online directories and show you where there's consistency, where there's inconsistency, where there's an opportunity for cleanup. Because sometimes there's a bunch of duplicates. Sometimes there's no listing at all. Sometimes there's the different names and addresses. And so rather than trying to cobble that together on a spreadsheet, this scan will let you see very easily, all right, here's 88% accuracy in this example of Southern Plumbing and Mechanical in Atlanta, Georgia. Right? It'll show you how you come up on Yahoo and Bing and Facebook and White Pages and Yelp and Foursquare. So you can run that scan completely free of charge. You do it at plumberseo.net/scan. And that would give you some good insights if it's nice and tight, or if there's an opportunity there for massive improvement. So best practices in my mind, and again, we do this for our clients, but I also train agencies. I'm also involved in the SEO training industry, would be to manually claim and optimize the Google business profile, right? That you want the key to that asset. You want the key to that property. And so you make sure you got the username and password with direct access to modify that. You log in on a desktop and a mobile, and you work from both. And then you use a tool like Yext to push out to the main listings. And in the SEO community, there's lots of argument. Yext is they're charging a monthly fee, and they're going to take down the listings if you cancel it, and it's a bad tool. All I know is that Yext has direct data API feed into the 50 most powerful, now 75 most powerful online directories. And yes, we want to update the data aggregators, but the fact that it's got a direct feed means you can change it in one place, instantaneously change that name, address, phone number, description, photos, and not even for sake of efficiency as an agency, right? We want to do it fast so we don't spend so much manual time, but from an efficiency of how soon that listing is updated, which ultimately means how soon you get relevancy, how soon you rank better in the maps. We found it can take 4 to 8 weeks to make a change and then see the individual directory update, versus when we go through Yext, we know that it's an immediate update, it's an immediate feed, there's duplicate suppression, and it just does a lot of things from an automation perspective that you can't do manually hopping into 150 plus individual websites and individual directories. So Yext or a tool like it, like Citation Burst and other tools like that, then I would add it to the data aggregators, and then I would leverage a tool like Citation Burst or LoganX or White Spark. These all have tools that let you find the hidden gems outside of the main directories and get yourself added to those with the proper name, address, and phone number. I know this is super technical. I don't usually go this technical, but I wanted to make sure you guys have the insights on what we agencies are actually doing to generate those local signals to pass that consistency of name, address, phone number, which is going to get you ranked in the maps. And then I have a manual list of the top citations. There's still going to be certain things you want to pop into manually, like contractors.com and networks and Fixer and BuildZoom and bestplumbers.com, and the list goes on and on. I'm going to give you access to that list if you go to plumberseo.net/citations. Those are some of the top citations that are extremely relevant to plumbing, HVAC, and electrical that you or your contractor can add yourselves to really pass some relevance. And all other things being equal, again, I keep going back to this idea that if your competitors, for the most part, are claiming their map listing and they're doing their on-page optimization and they're adding photos and they're answering questions and they've got lots of reviews and they're using a tool like X or something like that to build citations, the delta in a lot of cases are those tier 2, tier 3 listings that their team, their provider didn't add them to, right? And so we use these additional citation sources to give us that additional 3 to 5% juice that might be the difference from ranking in the 5th spot, getting no traffic, to ranking in the 2nd spot, getting most of the traffic. Okay, so we talked about how to claim the listing. We talked about how to consistency with the citations. The next thing we need to look about is reviews. And I really want you to understand the number one factor out of everything we're going to talk about today is the number of reviews that you have from your actual customers in your true service area. And we don't want to get fake reviews. We want real reviews, like I talked about, from real profiles. And we don't just want it on Google, right? We want some reviews on Yelp. We want some reviews on Angie. We want reviews across the web, on HomeStars, like all those types of sites. Couple things I'm going to recommend. Number one is you want to leverage tools to request a review after the service call, right? Which means we're going to have a printed postcard or a printed business card where your technician can say, hey, I really appreciate the opportunity to serve you today. I'm glad we could solve this. I'm glad you're happy. It would mean a lot to me if you'd go post a review, right? And it could be a QR code. It could be an RFID scan that they just literally bump their phone against it and it pulls up your Google review profile. You want to have those tools. You also want to be automating the review request. So an email goes out after the service call and a text message. And I think the biggest delta, I'm going to share two big things from a review management perspective that we've seen have just exponentially increased the percentage of reviews for our clients. I'll kind of share that here in a second. But I think also super important when it comes to reviews is the culture in your organization, right? Your technician needs to understand his job is to do the plumbing and to upsell the customer and to get a raving fan, right? And he needs to understand every service call needs to be a 5-star call, and he needs to plant the seed that we expect a review. And you as the owner or the general manager or whoever it is that runs the operation, when you're doing your ongoing training with the techs, ideally on a weekly basis, part of that process is to pull up the recent reviews and to call out the technician that got the most positive reviews. I found the companies that do that and that really call out and give them accolades in front of their peers, those techs start to step up. That culture starts to become a culture of we're going to create great experience, and that drives the review activity. You get the best tools in the world, but if your techs aren't mentally checked into that, it's not going to generate the outcome that you're after. So two things that I found have accelerated the amount of reviews that our clients get, which has really impacted their rankings. Number one is using automation. And so what's great today is that ServiceTitan and House Call Pro and Field Edge, most of these web-based platforms can now integrate with the review request tools. So after the job is closed, not like it's not Betty in the office remembering to go and copy and paste an email address, but literally the job is closed, email goes out asking for a review request, right? That in and of itself will have a big impact on the number of reviews. The second thing that I've actually found has the biggest impact on the number of reviews you're going to get on a consistent basis is using SMS in addition to email. If all you do is email, hey, thanks so much for your time, loved it if you write us a review, you're going to have a very low take rate on that. But if you've got the customer's cell phone number, you can send them a text message, just a simple, thanks so much for your business. Please take a minute to share your feedback with a link to the Google profile that automatically loads. Automating that, having email and text message creates an exponential curve. Now, the one last thing that I found can also improve your review count, and if I'm thinking about KPIs here, I'd love for you to be getting 10% of your customers to write a review. Obviously, using an automation helps that. Having a text message helps that. The other thing is sending at least 3 reminders to post a review. Using automation that if they already clicked the link, it doesn't continue the sequence because that will annoy the customer that already wrote the review. There's a really popular platform in this industry called Nice Jobs, and they did a deep research at Nice Jobs to see what are they doing that's helping them get a higher percentage of reviews from the jobs that these companies are serving. And Nice Jobs covers like home services, maid services, roofing, the whole gamut. And what they found was out of the multiple step email and SMS that they send, multiple step, most of the reviews came from the third message. The second most came from the second message, and the least came from the first message. And so most of us on our review request process, we do the job and one message goes out, even if it came via text message, only one. If you can put automation in place to touch them multiple times, you're going to get a much higher take rate and a much higher number of reviews, which is going to drive better positioning, better rankings, and a velocity of growth within your company. And so I don't want to beat a dead horse. I know I've already gone an hour. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I did a whole training on on-page optimization, what to do with your website in order to improve the outcomes. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this. I've got a little checklist I'm going to walk you through that kind of shows you what to do on the site, or you can go back and watch the training that I did last month on the new SEO formula. And I highly recommend you check that out. I'd be glad to send you the link if you want to pull that up. So I got an example of the Meridian company. You can see here they spend about $8,000 a month in online marketing, about $19 per lead, 173 leads directly from the Google Maps. Ira Hansen also does really good with maps. Just trying to get to. Could have gone a lot longer on this, guys, but I want to be respectful of everybody's time. The website stuff. Basically, we want pages for each of the services, pages for each of the cities. We want unique content on every single page. Obviously, we want to claim and optimize the Google Map listing like I've just described. You also want to be putting out content through your blog and syndicating that. One of the secret sauces that we brought to the table about 3 years ago was rather than just blogging to our client site, we blog through a new syndication network. So if we write a blog about, the 5 best drain cleaning products, which I'm not saying we would do that, instead of it just sitting on the site and linking back to the drain cleaning page, we're able to push that through local news sites, have a map embed, have a link back to the drain cleaning page, have a link back to the homepage. And so for every piece of content we put out, we're able to put a lot of signals back to the site to build up the rankings. And again, I could spend 45 minutes on Google Maps. I don't want to do that. But I covered all of the main things I wanted to make sure you took away from today, right? We want to make sure we've claimed and optimized the listing. We've built up our citations. We've got lots of reviews, and we've got nice, strong optimization on the website itself. If you'd like some help with this, again, this is what we do. We're really passionate about helping you guys, plumbing, HVAC, home service companies, rank better, generate more leads, generate more sales so that you can keep the phones ringing, the trucks running, and business booming. The best place to start, if you're interested in working with us, would be to go to plumberseo.net/schedule. Again, there is no obligation, no hard sale. We'll run an assessment, kind of look at what the most important keywords are for you. We'll figure out where you rank for those keywords. You'll have that. You can use the keyword list. You can use the ranking data however you want. And then we'll also look at what your citations look like. We'll run that in the X-scan. We'll do an analysis of the on-page on the website, the title tags, H1 tags, content structure, inbound linking, off-page links, strategies. And we'll be able to tell you if you're here and your goal is to be whatever it is in the next 12 to 24 months, we'll either be able to say, hey, look, where you're at is good. Like you're solid. Looks like you got a great strategy. Or we'll say, hey, look, based on what we see, these are the keywords we're not coming up for. This is what needs to be changed on the website. This is what we would suggest from a paid search perspective. And if that makes sense, we can talk about how much it would cost and what it would look like to work together. So that's it for today. Again, if you want to schedule that, you can go to plumberseo.net/schedule. Hopefully you were able to stick with me. Hopefully you got some great insights here today. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. Be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I will let you guys get on with your day. See, Ray says, thank you. Danny says, thanks, guys. Thank you. Thanks for being on here. Like I said, thank you for blessing me with your most valuable asset, which is your time. If you've got follow-up questions, feel free to send an email to Christian@plumberseo.com or me, Josh at plumberseo.com. And I will make sure, a couple people asking about the recording. Yes, it was recorded. I'll make sure to get this loaded up and sent out to you guys. And that's it. Thanks, everybody. Have an amazing afternoon, and we'll talk to you again soon.